All right. Shalom, everyone. This week's story, I'm telling you, it touched me. It's about Shabbat, and I hope we will all learn the lesson from it. It's about a boy that went to Eretz Israel. He went to Yeshiva in Yerushalayim, the famous Mir Yeshiva, and he knew no one. He wanted to, fit in. He wanted to be able to connect to the yeshiva. So he thinks to himself. His name is Avraham. Who should I connect with? And he says, you know what? I'll go to the yeshiva. I'll go way up to the top. Rav Natan or Rav Nassan Tzvi Finkel, the famous Rosh Yeshiva of Meir, who happens to be that this week was his Yortzeit, by the way. It's a year. And he goes to him. He goes to Rav Natan Tzvi, and he was extremely busy, so he stands there for him to look up. And finally, when he does look up, he says, "I know Rosh Yeshiva is very busy. I was wondering if Rosh Yeshiva has a time for me to learn with me, even a little bit." Rosh Yeshiva thinks. He says, "At 11 o'clock in the morning, I have about 10 minutes. Is that okay with you?" He was ecstatic. He says, "Yes, of course, I'll take it." And he goes and they were learning for 5-10 minutes, and he was extremely. He had to run yeshiva 10,000. It's huge, Mir yeshiva, shiurim to give and everything. 10 minutes. He was like, he needed that connection, and he got the connection. Beautiful. A week later, Yeshiva said, "I'm so sorry. This time that I had with you, that 11 o'clock is not going to work out for me. But I have another idea. There is a person that I study with at night. He just got married, Baruch Hashem. He can't come and learn with me at night. Would you mind taking over for him?" He said, "Would I mind? I would love to." And that's what they did. Every night he would study with him for a longer period of time, for 45 minutes. And he was in seventh heaven. This went on for a while. And then the Rosh Yeshiva asked him, Shalom, it's okay, we're still in the story. And then the Rosh Yeshiva asked him that I have someone else I used to study with on Shabbat, can't make it anymore. I was wondering if Shabbat afternoon will work out for you. He said, "Sure, I'll take whatever I can, And they started studying together, learning on Shabbat. So now, as we all know, on Shabbat after eating cholent, you are very tired. And this boy Abraham, he would go eat earlier, find a place to eat earlier to be able to take a nap, and then go. He was still sleepy when he would get to the yeshiva. When he would get there, he is ready to roar him like a lion. And the whole time, from the beginning to the end, he was with it completely and absolutely. He's like, how does he do it? It was like bothering him. Like, how does he do it and I can't? So every week this was going on. Finally, he says he mustered up the guts and courage to ask him. He said, I hope you don't mind me asking. But, after the cholent on Shabbat, everybody's tired. How did you do it? You're much older than me. And Rav Nassan Tzvi Finkel, he had Parkinson's disease. As you know, he was sick, he was ill. And he says, "You're so busy the whole week running the yeshiva, doing all these things, and you're weaker and everything. How are you like a lion you're sitting?" He says, "Are you tired of learning with me?" He said, "No, chas v'shalom. That's not what I mean." He says, "Let me tell you. It says in the Gemara that there is a series of questions that they ask a person after 120 years. One of them is, how did you utilize your time? How did you utilize your time? You went down there for 120 years. What did you do with your time?" He says, "That's one of the questions that they'll ask you." Fine. There's another Gemara that says that on Shabbat, we have a neshama yetzara, we have an added neshama that comes to us. After Shabbat is over, this neshama has to go to Hashem. Hashem is going to tell that neshama, Nassan Tzvi, what did you do this Shabbat? What did you do in my Shabbat? What am I going to say? I ate cholent, I drank soda, and I slept? Is that what I'm going to say Mosai Shabbat? No. That's why I sit and I learn, and I learn, and I learn. I utilize my time on Shabbat. That's what I do. He says more so, let me tell you, everything that I could do during the week, all of my shiurim that I give is from the time that I'm spending with you now on Shabbat. That's where I get everything. The whole energy and everything that comes to me the whole week is from this. Hearing this Avraham was like shaken. This was like something that he wasn't even thinking. And okay, this was the lesson that he got. Years later, this Avraham grew, Baruch Hashem, into a big time Chacham, and he made siyum on the whole Shas. And he made the siyum on Shabbat. He invited everyone, and he was telling them the story with Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel. And he told them, after Shabbat, my neshama yitera goes to Hashem. Hashem is going to tell me, Avraham, what did you do with my neshama yitera this Shabbat? I'm going to tell him, I finished Shas. In the Zachut of Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel. It's incredible, like you know. So please, send your husbands to learn Torah the whole Shabbat. Push them. Yep. Yep. All right. So we are, I think we're done with Mahmad Gufo, if I'm not mistaken, right? That was a 3-part series, which we pretty much I think we covered it a lot. Now, yeah, I think the last thing was the button, right? We did actually start last week basis ledavar ha'asur. Okay, what is that? You have a kli, you have a vessel, which is like a chair, a table, something that's a vessel that is that we are allowed to use on Shabbat. On it, from before Shabbat, someone puts a muktzeh mahmat gufo. That means a muktzeh which is absolutely muktzeh, that you cannot move it under no circumstances, in a normal manner, or a muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis. What is a muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis? That is something which is muktzeh, that is cast away because it has a worth, it has a value, because of which I'm afraid it'll break, I'm afraid it's going to get dirty, so therefore I don't use it on Shabbat. This is muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis. So either the item that we put on the thing that was mutar, it was a muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis, or it was muktzeh mahmat gufo, okay? Even if you just happen to leave it there, but you want it there for a while, okay, and you want it there to stay there duration of Ben Shemashot. That means the time that Shabbat begins, you want this item to be there. Even if on Shabbat it fell off, one of the kids moved it, something happened to it, the goy came, Mustafa came, he took it away. Even so, the kli that's underneath is muktzeh mahmat gufo. It cannot be moved, okay? Even letzorach gufo umkobo. Example. We did mention this. A camera. A camera is muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis. Most people don't like to, don't like the cameras to break. So it's a muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis. You leave it on your photo album before Shabbat. You leave it there, and it was there during Ben Shemashot, during the time that Shabbat began. This album becomes basis. That means it's a base, it's a foundation, it's something that is holding your muktzeh mahmat gufo, and it itself, a photo album, an innocent photo album, becomes muktzeh mahmat gufo, or mahmat chisaron kis, and you cannot move this album on Shabbat. You can't just lift it, say, you know what, I'm having guests. Where are they going to sit? I have to put a setting here, so let me take it away. Other times, the photo album is nothing, you just put it away. But here, it becomes muktzeh mahmat gufo, and you cannot move it. It's a basis ledavar ha'asur. Yes?
Can you touch it? Like, what if it's a table? Like, you can't move the table. Is it okay to still
touching the table, touching muktzeh, we said, it's fine, as long as you don't move it. You can't move it. Touching a muktzeh is fine. You can even sit on it, right? You can sit on a rock. The rock is muktzeh mahmat gufo, but you can sit on it. But moving it is asur. So this photo album becomes muktzeh mahmat gufo or mahmat chisaron kis, and you cannot move it. How about a drawer, right? You have a drawer. In it you have muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis or muktzeh mahmat gufo. Same thing. You have a camera in the drawer. you cannot open the drawer because it becomes a mukse mahmat basis davar asur. Yeah, is that clear? Good.
Other stuff.
Oh, that's the next topic we'll get to. Right now, let's deal with something which is solely a basis. Basis davar asur. A keli shemelachto leisur, not a mukse mahmat gufo. Let's not get confused. Up to now, for basis, we need either mukse mahmat gufo or mahmat chisaron kis. That makes the basis davar asur. You have a keli shemelachto leisur, a pen, and you put the pen on a keli shemelachto leheter. You put the pen on your plate. What's the story with your plate?
You're putting it on Shabbat?
No. Before Shabbat. On Shabbat. Before Shabbat, Friday afternoon, you leave it there. You're taking a note, right? And you left it on the plate.
So it's the same thing as
Or you
the
left it on the
previous thing,
table.
it's just without intention?
I'm sorry?
So what's
Even
the-
with intention. But it's a keli shemelachto leisur. It's not a mukse mahmat gufo. It's not a rock that you're holding a rock. You say, you know what? Let me just put the rock here for, I don't know, until tomorrow. And then you say, oops, what did I do? I left the rock on the table. The table becomes basis davar asur. You're gonna have a lot of guests. You want to move this table out of the way. You can't because this table now is basis davar asur. You follow what's happening? The table became basis davar asur because you have a muktzeh mahmat gufo on there, or muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis you have there. You can't move the table. Oops. Even if the rock falls off the table, you cannot move this table. Is that clear? Good.
Oh my goodness.
The table itself becomes muktzeh, right? So what if you put a keli shemelachto leisur, like a pen, like what's a good keli shemelachto leisur? What?
Scissors?
Scissors, hammer, thank you, all these things. Very, very good. So you take that and you put it on the table, on the chair. Does the chair become basis davar asur? No, thank you. Yeah, that's all. Only if it's a keli shemelach, it's a keli, something which is muktzeh mahmat gufo or mahmat chisaron kis, right? So therefore, what's underneath does not become it doesn't make it a basis davar asur. Why? Because you are allowed to move muktzeh mahmat keli shemelachto leisur for the tzorch gufo umkomo. Because of that, this thing becomes mutar. An example. In your kitchen cabinet, you leave your frying pan on top of your plates. Okay? Now you need the plates. Are these plates all muktzeh? No. Why? Because the frying pan is a keli shemelachto leisur. If you left a rock on your plates in the cabinet, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's
You
it's
can't
all.
like slip the plates from under it without
That's why we
moving.
have
That's
shinoi.
moving the
No,
plates.
that's the
Like,
idea.
can't we do shinoi?
No. Shinui, this thing won't help you. Because this whole thing, these plates became muktzeh mahmat
But
gufo.
only the top ones. Like the
That's a question I had, but I think they all become. I think. Because that makes the one under it, basis, that the one under that also becomes a basis.
Yeah,
So
boy.
we're in trouble. All right, so don't put a rock on the plates. It's not a good idea. Okay, so now let's see.
Wait,
Yes.
question, just to clarify. So if you put a kli shemelachto leisur on a kli shemelachto leheter, it doesn't become the muktzeh that you can't move, but can you move it? Do you have to move it with a shinoi or?
No,
No.
but you do need to have a reason to move it.
Okay.
Of
you
course.
need it.
Right. It doesn't be right. You need it. You need the plate.
So muktzeh mahmat gufo can't even be moved with shinoi?
With shinui, yes. The whole time right now. Let's talk about the muktzeh itself. Then we're going to talk about. There are two ways. There is a kelachad yad, and there is b'shinui. Okay, there are two ways to be able to move them. We'll get to that. We'll get to the.
Okay,
heteri-
but we're not stuck without plates.
Oh, in this case you are. Yeah.
Why in this case?
With the rock
Are you-
on your plates, yes.
Yeah.
How are you going to do it?
If you put like a diamond necklace on your plate,
I
you're
have
stuck.
an idea. You know what? Maybe No, it's crazy. How? You know what? You could get a dustpan, stick it under the plate. That's kelach hayad. That's not sure. That's kelach hayad, and you put it on the table. Then, when you're done, what are you gonna do? When you're done eating, again, you're gonna use out. You have to remember to use a dustpan again to put this thing into in the sink or whatever. You know what I'm saying? We're a little bit troubled here.
I sold the market fund or something.
Use paper plates. Good one. Did you hear this one?
What?
You gotta come
Yeah, I
earlier.
heard.
Okay. Now, so in general, there are four rules. Four rules we could come up with for basis ledavar asur. Number one, the muktzeh is on the heter. Okay, that means basis ledavar asur would be only if you put something which is muktzeh, it was there on the heter. But if it's vice versa, you have the heter on the muktzeh, you are allowed to take the heter and move it aside. Even if by moving the heter you might move a little bit the muktzeh, that's not a problem because that's shinui. That's the shinui. You are moving it kelachayat. Example. Your crock pot. Crock pot is a kishim. No, not a good example. You have something. What would be a good case? You have your phone. Phone is a muktzeh machmat chesaron case, and on Shabbat you would like to cover your phone, right? So you take a nice little Shabbat thing, with the Shabbat embroidery, you put it on the phone. Now on Shabbat you want to move it, right? Or you have little Velcro things that says Shabbat on it. You have it on the light switch. You want to move that on Shabbat. It doesn't become a basis davar asur just because it's used for davar asur. So therefore, you could go ahead and move it and remove it. The same thing with the cover for the phone, right? Things similar to that. It only becomes muktzeh basis if it's under it, but if it's on the side or on top of it, it does not become a basis ledavar asur. Second, the bottom thing, right? What you have your muktzeh on is a kli. It's not food. On this there is a big machloket. Shlomo Shabbat Yerchida says no, food also could become basis davar asur, right? Ravada says bimkom tzorech, right? When needed, we could rely on many rishonim that say that food does not become basis ledavar ha'asur. Okay, that means you have a rock on top of your food. It does not make your food not usable the whole Shabbat. You could go ahead, chuck the muktzeh, and what's under the muktzeh does not remain in the status of muktzeh.
Let's say you don't put batteries in the fridge. Batteries.
Right.
So if your batteries are on top of something, food in the fridge, you can just put them up in them and take them. Why do you put batteries in the fridge?
It's supposed to make them last longer.
It's a myth. It's supposed to stay longer. So what's the halacha of batteries? Is it muktzeh machmat gufo? What would you say? We have zero use for it on Shabbat. It's not food, but is it a kli? That's a question. It's not a kli. I don't think battery is a kli. So now the battery is on top of your food. So the food doesn't become. So according to this, you want that ice cream on Shabbat, don't you? So you could go ahead and pull the food out from under the battery, and you can't pick up the battery and put it aside. No, it's not a kli shemachta yisur. I think it's a mosamach magufo. So in that case, you could pull the food from underneath without moving the muktzeh, and then you could do it. The best thing is, of course, to be alert and to take care of this, to make sure that you want something on Shabbat, don't have anything muktzeh on it. What's the point? The point is, you don't usually put stuff on top of food. You put stuff on top of kelim, right? You put stuff on the table, you put stuff on the chair, you put stuff on top of a container, but you don't put on top of food. You don't put stuff on top of food. So that's why food is normally not something that could be considered a basis, and therefore he could go ahead and do it. But a keli, being that normally people would put something on, so it becomes batel. It becomes as if it's powerless. They have the monster muktzah on top of it. It becomes powerless for the whole Shabbat. The whole Shabbat, this thing is it becomes muktzah itself. So the second thing was that the thing underneath is not food. When it's food, there is room to be lenient, and when we need it, we could go ahead and use the food, move the food, without it being a basis davar asur, which cannot be moved at all on Shabbat. The third condition, very important, is called dat be'alim. The owner, what is in his mind? What was in the person's mind? Basis davar asur is only when he puts the muktzeh on, let's say, the table, the chair, or whatever it is, the owner put it there, or it was with the knowledge of the owner that it was put there. But if somebody else put it there, and the owner didn't know about it, or it just fell on its own, right? And then suddenly on Shabbat you come and say, hey, who put this rock on my nightstand? I want to move my nightstand. Or who put this rock on this chair? Where did this come from? It wasn't with his knowledge, right? Or it just fell on its own. In that case, you could shake it off, and what's underneath is not basis davar asur. It has to be the owner, right? The owner of this item, that he put it there. It was with his knowledge. Yes.
So the whole rocks on the plate thing would kind of be the same thing if somebody who not the owner put the rock.
Correct. But who?
The owner of the plate or the owner of the rock?
The owner of the plate.
Can we use an example that's a little bit more?
A rock is not a good example?
No.
Really?
What about a blow dryer or a hair iron?
How about Play-Doh?
That stays in
Blow
space.
dryer is a kiddush melachto leisur, right? Hair iron is a kiddush melachto leisur. They could be moved, right? On Shabbat, if you need the space. You have flour, wheat flour, right? You have a bag of wheat flour that you left it. Like, you said, where am I going to put it? Oh, I'll put it here. You know what? Oops.
But doesn't it have to be your intention that it's going to be there? until
Your
then?
intention, yeah. And so your intention
So let's say you
was.
thought you put it
If
there
you
and
thought you're going to take it off in
put
2 minutes, then it's not your intention that it should be there, ben hashmashot. Your intention should be, that's the next condition, right? The intention should be now. Let me see if I have good examples here.
So the owner is of the basis or of the...
Of the basis.
Uh-huh.
Because what's becoming asur, the halacha is like this: in adam oser davar she'eino shelo. A person cannot prohibit something which is not his, right? So the basis now is becoming asur, prohibited. Someone else can't prohibit on me something that is mine, right? Only I could prohibit it. Only I could make it asur by putting something muktzeh machmat gufo on it. Is this clear? Let's make sure it's clear. Everybody is on board? Yeah. So it has to be with my agreement that what's underneath, there is something put on it. If someone else puts something on it, he cannot make something which is not his asur. Like this halacha is not only on Shabbat. Someone pours, I don't know, yain nesech is on my wine, mixes in my wine, right? So it doesn't become asur that I can't. Yain nesech might be a little different. There's different areas where this halacha pertains. Like, one person cannot make something which is not his asur. Right? It's not only here. It's on many different things. Let's say, here's a good example. Rav Vadi brings it down from Asham, I think. He says a gabbai of the shul, right, of the Beit Knesset. He went ahead. It's Chanukah. Chanukah is coming up. He went on Friday afternoon, and don't ask why. On one of the benches of the shul, he lit the Chanukiah, right? He put it on one of the chairs, one of the benches. Now, does this bench on Shabbat become asur? You can't move this bench?
No, he's not allowed.
What?
He's not allowed.
Thank you. He's not about. He's just a caretaker. No, it's very important what he does. He's responsible for the shul. He's responsible to make sure everything runs and everything. But he's not the owner. He doesn't own the furniture. So therefore, after the candle is out already. They could, if they want to move this chair, they need the chair, they want to sit on it, they could move it to a different place and sit on it. He cannot make that bench asur, right?
So the candles on the table, if someone placed their candles on their table,
Right.
then
So then what they do is, we're going to learn about it later, they usually try to put something else of value on the table so that the table doesn't become a basis davar asur. Right? They usually put the shabbat halot there. That's questionable. Are your halot more worth more, or your candelabra? It has to have value, worth. Let's say you're a guest somewhere, and you before Shabbat you say, "Oh, I have muksa on me. Let me see." And he takes his wallet or his cell phone and he puts it on the chair next to him, on the bed, whatever. He's in a rush. You come on Shabbat. Baruch Hashem, you have a lot of guests. Suddenly you come to get the chair. You say, "Oh my gosh, they put this thing on this chair." So cell phone, muktzeh machmach chisaron keys. So what do? Can you chuck the cell phone and then take the chair or not?
Yes.
Why?
Because it wasn't his chair.
It wasn't his chair. It was my chair. So he couldn't make it asur on me. That's why it is allowed. Let's say you have your neighbor came to visit you right before Shabbat, and I don't know, her kid was playing with a rock. He says, "Oh, what are you doing with this rock?" Takes it and puts it in my closet. Happens to be in this closet. This was my laundry closet where I have my beautiful folded towels. And I come there for Shabbat morning, and I say, What is this rock doing on my towels? We need towels. What's going on? And you ask around, they say, "Oh, it was the neighbor that came to visit. She just wanted to hide this from her kid, put it there." It wasn't hers to make asur. Therefore, I could pull the towels. Your towels are not basis davar asur, and they could be used. What if a wife put something which is muktzeh mahmat gufo or muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis on a keli of heter of her husband? He didn't know about it at all. Comes on Shabbat, he goes, "Who in the world did this?" What do you say?
Someone else did it.
Mutar or asur? Someone else did it?
Yeah.
Ishto kegufo.
Yeah, but the whole point was if he didn't do it, then somebody else did it.
He did it. His wife did it. It's like he did it.
For
That's
real,
the
that's
halacha.
the thing. I thought
That's the halacha. If his wife did it, Ishto kegufo, and sorry, it becomes asur for the rest of Shabbat. Be careful.
so as long as it wasn't you or your husband and the kids did it, then it's okay.
That's right.
So your children,
That's right. Your children, they cannot make it asur. Your children cannot make it asur. But ishto kegufo, it applies here, and you have to be extra careful. Now, you mentioned ben hashmashot, right? That means that the basis of davar asur is only that if this thing was there, your intention was that it should stay there for ben hashmashot. That means for the beginning, for when Shabbat was beginning, you wanted this thing to stay there. But if your intention was there, like we said, I'm going to take this off in a couple of minutes. I'm just going to leave it here for a few minutes on this plate. I'm not going to leave it rock or a bag of flowers on my Shabbat plate. I have guests coming in, right? I'm not going to leave it there. I'm going to take it off in a few minutes and you forgot. In that case, that it does not become a basis davar asur. You are allowed to pull the plate from under it and whatever you want to do, to be able to, and you are allowed to use this plate. Let's just leave it at that. Let's say you left money. Money is muktzeh mahmat gufo. You left money on your pillow on Friday. Okay, you were changing, like you wanted, you were putting it there. You don't want the stuff to be in your pockets, and you left money there on the pillow. And obviously, you're not going to leave it there for the whole Shabbat. You want to sleep there on that pillow. You're not going to leave it there for the whole Shabbat. Then what happens? You are allowed to. This is the Mishnah Masach Shabbat. You're allowed to take your pillow, shake it off, get the money somewhere good, and then you're allowed to use the pillow. It's not a problem. Why? Because you don't leave something muktzeh on a thing on this sort of thing, unless your intention is to leave it there for Shabbat. That's something else. But if you just happen to be dropped there for a few minutes, that does not render that thing basis davar ha'asur. Therefore, your pillow, you are allowed to move it the whole Shabbat. It's not a problem. Even if the person leaves the muktzeh on the keli heter, right? His intention was, I don't want this to stay there. I will take it off. But his intention was that, you know what? For the next 2-3 hours, I'm going to leave it there, and next 2-3 hours will be Shabbat, will be ben hashmashot, right? Even if he says I'm going to take it off tonight, right? Whatever the case is, then it'll become basis davar asur, because your intention was to leave it there for the duration of ben hashmashot. Now, in a drawer, right? People stuff things in the drawer. So there's a lot of stuff there. So you have the things that are mutar, things that are not mutar, and they're all mixed in there. And he knew that the thing which is muktzeh, which is on top of the thing that he needs, right, is gonna be there, right? Even there, if within the drawer this thing is on top of the muktzeh, like the rock, is on top of something that I need, it becomes basis davar asur. That becomes basis davar asur. Is that clear? Inside the drawer, you have a lot of stuff, and you know already from before Shabbat, on Friday, you saw that this thing is there. Your notebook that you want to read from is there, and then you have, and then you saw that there is something which is mukseh mahmad gufo on your notebook, and you knew it's going to be there duration of ben hashmashot. This notebook becomes basis davar ha'asur. The whole drawer doesn't, because there's other things that are mutar in there. That's what we were discussing. It's basis davar ha'asur ve'hamutar, right? It's both. In that case, it depends. But in this case, this thing is directly on top of your notebook that you want to use on Shabbat. It makes it a basis davar ha'asur, and this notebook becomes mukseh for the duration of Shabbat. Okay? Now, Ravadi brings down, if you left it there already a couple of days before, or you had it there a couple of days before Shabbat, and your intention was that this rock should stay there, I don't know, you want to straighten up your notebook, and you wanted the rock to be there. And no, in that case, you know what? The rock became a keli. Sorry, no. It's a keli, and therefore you could move it, no problem. But let's say, no, you wanted it there. For some reason, you just didn't care, right? And you knew it's going to be there on Shabbat, and you said, you know what, Friday afternoon I'm going to have time. I'm going to clean up this drawer, set everything up properly, and you forgot, right? Then it does not become a basis, right? Because your intention was to. I said it wrong. I said that you wanted to stay there for Shabbat. No, you knew about it. You said, you know what, before Shabbat I'm going to fix it up and everything. If you forgot to fix it, didn't get a chance to fix it, but your intention was to fix it up, then the muktzeh is the basis, the halakha of basis is not on this notebook, and therefore on Shabbat you could just pull the notebook out and use it.
So let's say the drawer is a whole mix of things.
Right.
And there's no muktzeh on top of the thing that you want.
Good.
It's not a problem at all to open the drawer.
Then it depends.
That's like the same.
That's it. Until now we were talking about basis ledavar ha'asur. That means this thing is a foundation, is a base for something which is asur. Now we're going to go to the next topic, which is a basis ledavar ha'asur v'ha'heter v'ha'mutar. Right? It's both. Now what? You have a keli which is of mutar. It is, i.e., a drawer. Right? In the drawer you have from before Shabbat something which is muktzeh, mahmad gufo, mahmad chisaron, a rock, or for people that don't like rocks, a bag of flour, right? In this drawer, you have it, and now also next to it you have davar heter. What is the story with this drawer? Can you open this drawer or not?
Yes.
It depends. This is the halakha. If the thing which is asur is worth more, is more important in your eyes than the thing which is of heter, then no. you cannot open the drawer. But if the thing which is of heter, which is mutar, is worth more for you than the thing which is asur, then you could open the drawer. Yes.
So your purse.
Your purse, what does it contain?
Credit
I don't want
card,
to.
credit cards, money, car keys. So those stuff are all.
Not necessarily completely muktzeh, and especially not muktzeh mahmat gufo, to give this halakha of basis, right? Remember, what makes the basis dabara asur if it's muktzeh mahmat gufo or muktzeh mahmat chisaron kis, right? So in there you have coins. Coins are muktzeh mahmat gufo. Car keys,
Credit card.
credit card.
What if you don't know what ended
not.
up being in that drawer? Like sometimes people just.
Because
That's
it's
like the
random
drugstore.
stuff, yeah.
So why are you opening it?
You just need something.
You need something that's in
one
that
thing.
drawer.
Let's say you need like Advil that's in there, or whatever.
Advil is rather important, right? But you have to know what else is in there. But if Advil, listen, Advil is used for Adam Choleh, so then in that case you could open it. But it becomes very iffy. You have to know, like, what's in there. Otherwise, a person shouldn't open the drawers just out of the blue, right? You have
So
to know.
what's the situation with the purse? Let's say you have your house keys in there. We also have car keys and wallet and stuff like that.
So,
Right, you have keys and you need a locking for, let's say, and you realize what's in your purse.
all right. So then so what do you want? You want to move the purse?
I need to take it off the hanger to look through it or whatever. To retrieve.
If you need your keys, then you stick your hand in there and get your keys out.
So you're gonna move other things around.
What? That's beshinu. You're not moving it like this. You're just looking for your keys, pull it out. Even if other things are going to get moved, that's beshinu kelachayat, no problem, right? Just look and seek and rescue your keys out of there. But it depends. It really depends. You can't just move the purse unless you know that the other things in there are not really that much muktzeh. And what you're looking for outweighs, then you can move the purse and search for what you need.
So
Another example.
So the key itself, for example, the house keys, it's not the key. It's
You
not
have-
the key itself that's valuable, but the fact that it opens your
Yes,
house, then
that's-
that's what makes it valuable.
For sure. You have a keychain. You have a key ring. On this ring, you have heter, house keys, and you have asur, car keys, the fob, right? That's kilichem after isur. So this whole thing becomes a mixture, right? So the best thing to do is before Shabbat, just take your home keys out, right? Or take the car key out, whichever. But if you forgot, you're allowed to move it because it's not a basis. So therefore, you don't even have to take your car keys out or the fob out. You could move the whole thing because it's basis dabara asura mutar. So therefore, you could. If you have on one key ring, right? You have all these little keys, and you have your home key, you have your gate key, you have all these things there, and you need it. Baruch Hashem, there is a eruv. You could carry these things. So then, if you forgot to move them before Shabbat, now on Shabbat you could go ahead and move the whole keychain. Why? Because of this heter of its basis davar ha'asur ve'hamutar, both. That gives it the heter. You have in the drawer, let's say you have money, and you have a very expensive tie. I don't know, a very expensive article of clothing. Depends. If this article of clothing is more valuable to you than the money, it's like these $100 bill. Who cares? But then you have the very expensive article of clothing. Then you could open the drawer, no problem. But if the money is more, you have a whole wad of $100 bills in your drawer, and you have something else. So obviously the money is more important. Then it would be asur to open this drawer because it's really a basis davara asur. If you have let's say in your kitchen, you have a drawer. In the drawer you have coffee, tea, sugar, and baking powder. What's baking powder? Right? Coffee, tea, they're perfectly fine. They're useful. So therefore, they're more important, and therefore you could open the drawer, right? But let's say you have in a drawer, you have dried beans, dried chickpeas, dried lentils, all these dry things. These are all muksa mahmad gufo. You have no use for them on Shabbat. What are you going to do with them on Shabbat? And you have, what's a good example?
Yes.
You have lemon juice,
Especially with kids who just take things.
right? You have something that's useful. You cannot open this drawer because you have mukta mahmad gufo in there. You can't open it, right? The davar asur is more important and more, and you could do it. Now, a person is stuck. He said, look, I'm making salad. I need that bottle of lemon juice from that drawer. What am I going to do? There, as we mentioned, we haven't mentioned yet, you could use a shinui. You take a spoon, and with the spoon, you open the drawer. Something like that. You stick the spoon in the handle and you pull it. That's a shinui. That's enough of a shinui to be able to go ahead and do. Like again, remember one thing to remember with the keychain. With the keychain, we have your keys and everything. A person has to be careful if he's carrying these things. I forgot to mention, don't press the buttons. Right? We always play with these buttons. It's not a good thing to do it. Now, here in this case of the basis, davar ha'asur v'ha'mutar, again, this is a very important factor. The isur has to be there with kavanah. That means you wanted the davar ha'asur, let's say your car key, to be in this keychain. If you didn't want it there, you said, you know what, before Shabbat I'm going to get this thing out of this ring, and you forgot, right? Then this doesn't make it asur. Even if this is more important for you than your home keys, right? It doesn't make it asur because it never made it to become basis. For the isur, for something that's asur, to make everything else asur, we said you need intention. You need that you want it to be there. But if you didn't want it to be there, it doesn't make it asur. But something which is mutar, you say, I'm going to get my home keys out of that ring, and I forgot. That doesn't make any difference. The davar ha-mutar, it's fine. Even if it's there, you had no intention of it being there, it's good. It's fine.
Can we take the home key?
On
out of
Shabbat,
that?
you could take it out, yes.
So it's better to take it out
Yeah.
than carrying it.
Yeah, because carrying it, you're gonna be stuck because by mistake you might press the buttons and so on and so forth. Yeah. One last halakha. You know what? I'm gonna leave this last halakha because there is more continuation with this about the candelabra.
Do you have the list of the mahmad gufo?
I have it somewhere. A rock, dirt, baking powder,
Olive pits,
walnut shells, dry beans, pieces of wood, flour. What else? Animals, big bones from food, paint, money, gas bills, electric bills. I think that's plenty. Right. Those are muksa mahmad gufo. It itself, there's no use for it. They're not kelim, they're not food. So we said all the pets are muksa mahmad gufo.
So can these objects be moved with shinui?
These objects could be moved if we need to. Could we move with shinui? There is two ways. There is kalachariyad and there is shinui because we're going to get to that soon. Hopefully.
Oh my God.